Welcome to today's live reading from Ramayana, the story of Lord Ram, compiled by His Holiness Bhaktivikas Swami. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Radhate Yat Kripatam Vande Shri Gurum Dintarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanyeshwaram Hari Om Tat Sat. So yesterday we finished our reading when we were reading how Vishwamitra was telling another story to Lord Ram about King Sagar, who ruled from his capital Ayodhya, and he performed a lot of austerities to get a son, and with his two wives, Keshini and Sumati. Now he got this benediction by great Rishi Bhrigu that one of his wives could have 60,000 sons and one could have a single son. So Sumati, the sister of Garud, she chose to have 60,000 sons, and Keshini, the elder queen, she chose to have one, to perpetuate the Ikshvaku line. Maharaj Sagar returned home, and in due course a son was born to Keshini and given the name Asamanjasa. Sumati, however, gave birth to a lump of flesh shaped like a bitter melon. Shortly thereafter, when the lump was opened up, 60,000 embryonic sons emerged. They were immediately placed in jars of ghee by their nurses until they could complete their development. Later, when these 60,000 sons began growing up, their cruel elder stepbrother Asamanjas began to throw them into the river Sarayu, laughing with great pleasure to see them drown. Being very aggrieved due to the vicious behavior of his son, Maharaj Sagar finally decided to exile Asamanjas from his kingdom, although he kept the son of Asamanjas, Amshuman, who was loved by all subjects. After some time, Maharaj Sagar inaugurated the performance of a horse sacrifice with Amshuman protecting the challenge horse as it wandered over the earth. However, during the performance of the sacrifice, King Indra appeared in the guise of a Rakshas and stole the horse from the sacrificial arena. The priest fervently urged Maharaj Sagar to recover the horse at all costs. He warned that if the sacrifice remained incomplete, it would be most inauspicious. Maharaj Sagar then ordered his 60,000 sons to search the entire earth for the horse, allotting each of them 1 square yojan. He further instructed his sons that if the horse could not be found elsewhere, they should look below the earth. Thus, as Maharaj Sagar and his grandson Amshuman waited at the sacrificial arena, the 60,000 princes searched the entire earth. When they were unable to find the horse anywhere, the sons of Sagar began digging into the earth. This, however, upset the inhabitants of the lower worlds, such as the Nagas. Indeed, even the earth herself became extremely disturbed. Seeing this, the demigods approached Lord Brahma and petitioned him to set right the situation. Lord Brahma pacified the demigods, explaining that since the earth was a consort of Lord Vishnu, the Lord in his form of Kapil would soon annihilate all 60,000 sons of Sagar. Even after digging up the earth and killing many living beings in the process, the sons of Sagar could not find the sacrificial horse and thus returned to their father disappointed. When the 60,000 princes inquired from their father what they should do next, the king ordered them to continue digging further down until the horse was found. The sons of Sagar resumed their excavation of all 4 quarters of the earth's surface and soon came to see the 4 colossal elephants that protect the 4 directions and support the earth. These gigantic elephants support the entire weight of the earth upon their backs and when due to exhaustion they sometimes shake their heads for relief, it creates earthquakes. Finally, after penetrating the earth all the way down to the Rasatal, the sons of Sagar came upon Lord Kapil sitting in meditation while nearby the sacrificial horse stood grazing peacefully. Sagar's sons assumed Kapil to be the thief. They thus angrily took up their digging implements and rushed to kill him. Seeing this act of aggression, Kapil became angry. Then simply by uttering the mantra Hum, he reduced the 60,000 sons of Sagar to ashes. After a long time, when his sons had not returned, Maharaj Sagar sent his grandson Amshuman to search for his 60,000 sons and the sacrificial horse. By following the path his uncles had taken, Amshuman came to the passage excavated by them. And entering the earth, Amshuman came upon the great elephants and inquired from them about the whereabouts of his uncles. In reply, the elephants assured him that by continuing down the passage he would soon come to know everything. At last Amshuman reached the place where the ashes of the sons of Sagar lay. Seeing this, he became overwhelmed with grief. Amshuman found the sacrificial horse nearby and decided to first offer water to the departed souls of his uncles before returning to his grandfather. Unfortunately, there was no water to be found in that place. While Amshuman was thinking what to do, Garud suddenly appeared and said, "My dear Amshuman, do not grieve for your uncles. Their deaths are ultimately meant for achieving a glorious purpose. The sons of King Sagar will be instrumental in bringing the sacred river Ganga down to earth for the welfare of all people. Your uncles were burned to ashes by the great sage Kapila. When their remains are washed away by the waters of Ganga, they will attain a heavenly destination. Now take the sacrificial horse and return to your grandfather so that the sacrifice can be completed." With the return of the sacrificial horse, Maharaj Sagar successfully concluded the sacrifice. After hearing from Amshuman the prophetic words of Garud, the king became absorbed in trying to formulate the means to make the Ganga descend to the earth. However, Maharaj Sagar passed away before achieving that goal. After the death of his grandfather, Amshuman ruled the kingdom for some time. He later gave the throne to his son Dilip and retired to the forest to perform austerities, hoping to induce Ganga to descend to the heavenly planets, but his desire to hope, I didn't lose much of the connection. So the last sentence I was reading was that he later gave the throne to his son Dilip and retired to the forest to perform austerities, hoping to induce Ganga to descend the earth. After his death, Amshuman went to the heavenly planets, but his desire to cause the descent of the Ganga remained unfulfilled. Dilip also sought to bring Ganga to earth, but he too died before his desire was fulfilled. Dilip's son Bhagirath then inherited the kingdom and likewise desired to perform austerities to cause Ganga to descend. Since he had no son, Bhagirath entrusted the rule of the kingdom to his ministers and retired to the forest. After Maharaj Bhagirath had performed austerities for 1,000 years, Lord Brahma became pleased with him. Accompanied by the demigods, Lord Brahma appeared before the king to award him a benediction. Maharaj Bhagirath worshipped Lord Brahma and then begged, "Please allow my ancestors, the sons of King Sagar, to receive the water of the Ganga. In addition, kindly benedict me to have a son." Lord Brahma replied, "I agree to award you these benedictions. However, the earth is incapable of bearing the weight of the Ganga's descent. You should request Lord Shiva to absorb the impact of the falling water, for only he is powerful enough to do so." Determined to gain Lord Shiva's favor, Maharaj Bhagirath finally began performing severe austerities. He stood motionless on the tip of a single toe for 1 year. At that time, Lord Shiva was pleased to appear before the king. When Maharaj Bhagirath expressed his desire, Lord Mahadev agreed to bear the force of the Ganga's water upon his head. Soon after, the Ganga began to descend towards the earth from her course in the heavenly planets. All the demigods assembled to witness the spectacle. However, when Ganga Devi saw Lord Shiva prepare to take her upon his head, she considered that his contact would contaminate her. Thus, upon seeing the expression of disgust displayed by Ganga Devi, Lord Shiva became insulted. In retaliation, he angrily captured her and concealed her waters within his matted hairs, thwarting her descent to earth. When Maharaj Bhagirath saw how Ganga had become entangled, he resumed his austerities. Finally, Lord Shiva gave up his anger and released Ganga Devi, allowing her to fall into the Bindu Sarovar in the Himalayas. Afterward, the Ganga split into 7 streams. 6 of these formed other rivers, while the 7th followed Maharaj Bhagirath as he rode upon his royal chariot. While wending her way through the various lands, it so happened that Ganga inundated the sacrificial arena of the great sage Jahnu. Becoming excited with rage, the rishi swallowed up the entire river. Upon seeing this, the demigods were struck with wonder. They then approached Jahnu Rishi and requested him to release Ganga Devi on the condition that she would become known as his daughter. The rishi agreed, and thus Ganga was able to continue her journey, and she also became known as Jahnavi. Finally, the Ganga reached the site that had been excavated by the sons of Sagar. By entering that crevasse, the Ganga went down to Rasatal. In doing so, she submerged the ashes of 60,000 sons of Sagar, enabling them to reach their heavenly destination. Lord Brahma appeared once more before Maharaj Bhagirath and declared, "O king, your mission has now been accomplished. From this time forward, the Ganga shall be known as your daughter Bhagirathi." After thus delivering his forefathers, Maharaj Bhagirath returned to his capital and resumed ruling over his kingdom. Thus the entire night passed away as Vishwamitra narrated to Ram the fascinating history of river Ganga and her descent to the earth. When morning arrived, Ram expressed his eagerness to cross Ganga and continue the journey. The caravan was soon made ready to depart. After reaching the far bank of the Ganga, the caravan travelled on and eventually came to the city of Vishal. When Lord Ram requested Vishwamitra to speak about the dynasty of kings that ruled this city, the rishi narrated the following history. The demigods and demons are by nature inimical towards one another. Once following the advice of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the demigods executed a truce with the demons for the purpose of churning nectar from the sea. This was done with the understanding that when the nectar was churned, both sides would share it equally, thus both demons and demigods desiring to become immortal. They started for the ocean of milk, taking with them Mandar mountain and Vasuki. By the expert arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the demons held the snake near the mouth and the demigods held his tail. Vasuki, with his thousands of eyes and mouths, breathed smoke and blazing fire, which severely wounded the demons. Thus the demons, who appeared like trees burned by a forest fire, gradually became powerless. Because the demigods were also affected by the blazing breath of Vasuki, their bodily luster diminished, and their garments, garlands, weapons, and faces were blackened by smoke. However, by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, clouds appeared on the sea, pouring torrents of rain, and strong breezes carried particles of water from the sea waves, thus giving relief to the demigods. Because of the mountain's great weight, the demigods and demons became fatigued and tired, and some were dying. Thus, because Mandar mountain was very heavy and was not held by any support, it sank into the sea. In this way, the prowess of both demons and the demigods was vanquished. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, then appeared on the back of his carrier Garud. Then Lord appeared like a blackish cloud, wearing a garland of flowers. He was dressed with yellow garments and earrings that shone on his ears like lightning. His eyes were pinkish and his hairs were spread over his shoulders. By his mercy, he brought the demigods and demons back to life. Then Lord lifted the mountain with one hand and placed it on the back of Garud. He sat on the mountain, and Garud carried him to the spot of the churning and placed the mountain in the middle of the sea. The Lord then asked Garud to leave, because as long as Garud was present, Vasuki could not come there. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, appearing in his incarnation of Kurmavatar, a gigantic tortoise, supported the mountain upon his back as he lay at the bottom of the ocean. Then Lord Vishnu used his strong, glorious arms, which award fearlessness throughout the universe, and took hold of Vasuki like a rope and began churning the ocean, using Mandar mountain as a churning rod. Engaged in this way, Lord appeared like the beautifully situated mountain named Indranil. The mountain moved back and forth, scratching the back of the Lord Tortoise, who, while partially sleeping, was experiencing an itching sensation. Lord Vishnu then further expanded himself in a gigantic form and supported the top of the Mandar mountain with one hand to keep it steady. As the churning resumed with great force, the fish, sharks, tortoises, and snakes became agitated, the entire ocean became turbulent, and even the large aquatic animals like whales, water elephants, crocodiles, and Timingala fish, large whales that can swallow the small whales, came to the surface. While the ocean was being churned in this way, it then produced a huge amount of dangerous poison called halahal. The demigods, seeing no one else to save them, approached Lord Shiva and offered him prayers. Lord Shiva is called Ashutosh because he is very, very pleased if one becomes his devotee. Therefore, he readily agreed to drink all the poison generated by the churning. The goddess Durga, Lord Shiva's wife, was not at all disturbed when Lord Shiva agreed to drink the poison, for she knew Lord Shiva's prowess. Indeed, she was pleased with this agreement. Lord Shiva gathered the devastating poison which had spread everywhere. He took it upon his hand and drank it, which made his neck become bluish. However, a small quantity of the poison spilled from his hands to the ground. It is because of this poison that there are poisonous snakes, scorpions, toxic plants, and other poisonous things in the world. Thereafter, in the course of churning the milk ocean, 600 million apsaras were produced, and because neither the demigods or demons accepted them, they became prostitutes. When Varuni, the goddess of liquor, Sura, next emerged from the milk ocean, the demons would not accept her. The demigods did, however, and for this reason the sons of Aditi became known as Suras, while the sons of Diti became known as Asuras. Finally, after many years, Lord Vishnu, in the form of Dhanvantari, the inaugurator of the medical science, appeared from the ocean of milk, holding a water pot filled with nectar in one hand and a staff in another. So I think we should finish our reading now, and we will continue from here onwards tomorrow. We have read so many leelas, one after the another happening, and we have finished reading about the Samudra Manthan, that how the Lord's avatar, Kurma avatar, the tortoise avatar, his incarnation that appeared, and how Lord himself came for the rescue of the demigods. And when the churning was done, the halahal, the dangerous poison, appeared because of the churning of the ocean, and Lord Shiva, only he could rescue everyone from that. He drank that poison, he held it in his hand. That's why he's also known as Nilkant as well. And how Aditi bore the sons of Aditi became known as Suras, and the sons of Diti, they came to known as Asuras. So this was because the 600 million apsaras were produced in the churning of the milk ocean, and they were not accepted by either the demigods or the demons, so they were rendered as prostitutes. And Varuni, the goddess of liquor, Surar, she emerged from the milk ocean, and the demons would not accept her. The demigods did accept them, and that is why the sons of Aditi, they came to be known as Sur, or the Devatas, and the sons of Diti, they became to be known as Asurs, or the demons, or the Danavs. And also Dhanvantari also appeared, that is Lord Vishnu in the form of the inaugurator of the medical science. He also appeared from the ocean of milk. He was holding a water pot filled with nectar in one hand and a staff or a danda in his another hand. So I think tomorrow we will continue reading about the Mohini Murti of the Lord, and we still have got few pages left of the Balkan, and the Shara is fast approaching, and the Navami, the final day, Adashtami, today's Shashti, then Saptami, Ashtami, Navami, so 3 days left for the final puja of Durga Devi as well. Then Sunday it is the Shara, but we'll see if we'll be able to start the Ayodhya Kand. But I don't want to rush it because there's so much to take in, and it's nice to be slow and steady. Let's see if we can finish this by Diwali. Would be nice. If not, doesn't matter, we'll continue. But it's still a very short form of nice realization compiled together and nicely explained, and so many leelas are becoming more and more clear to us. So thank you for joining. We'll continue with this tomorrow. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.